What's up, everybody? Mike here, and boy, oh boy, has it been crazy as of late for EA and Bioware, and just what the heck is going on with the status of the next Mass Effect game, and what ended up happening to a lot of staff that worked on the Dragon Age of Veilguard, and sadly, a lot of stuff from an objective standpoint that like me and a lot of other people felt from other sources, and just the general, I would say overall like fan feedback and fan reception and whatnot is we expected this to kind of happen where basically EA lays off all writers from Dragon Age Veilguard. Well, we probably didn't expect layoffs to happen. I don't want anybody to lose their job or anything like that when it comes to this stuff, but it's just Dragon Age Veilguard, if you've been paying attention, did not sell as well internally as EA hoped. I think it didn't do like what 50% of what they expected in terms of sales, and they are restructuring Bioware. They are just changing the things up. It just wasn't a really good game overall, and EA recognizes that. And we got some clarity on the status of the next Mass Effect game and how this restructuring is going to affect things going forward. Something else that was like kind of out of nowhere, to be honest, was the game director or co-game director, Corinne Bush, left. Literally left before this even went down, which kind of like had me thinking, well, did she kind of knew what was going to happen as far as like the layoffs and things like that? Well, to be clear, she left for a new professional opportunity to essentially work on a new RPG she says she could not pass up, basically. And currently, Bioware as a studio is focused on developing the next Mass Effect game, whether you want to call it Mass Effect 4 or Mass Effect 5. It honestly is Mass Effect 5 technically because it's going to be the fifth game in the series, but you know, look at how you want. And they're assuring that the project is progressing at a steady pace. But this whole reorganization and restructuring has resulted in several job losses. And what's even more messed up is, yeah, all the writers on Dragon Age team or the whole writing team were just let go. Many of them without prior notice, though. Like, you just didn't get a notice, let them know, like, hey, you're gone, no. It's just imagine, like, you go in to your job, thinking everything's fine, it's a normal day, and then bam, out of nowhere, like told, well, we're sorry, or might not even we're sorry, just like you're being let go today, you're being fired today. Like that's just crazy, dude. And there was a statement that was put out, also not too long ago, that the studio mentioned that some staff members have been reassigned to other positions within EA, but failed to mention new layoffs. And these are some people that have been with the company like for decades, at least like 2 decades or something like that in some cases, or at least 1 decade or 15 years. Several former employees have described the situation as a reckoning for Dragon Age of Veilguard's poor performance. And to be fair, yeah, it didn't sell that great, guys. If you don't know, reports have stated and showed that Dragon Age Veilguard only sold 1.5 million copies. And as I mentioned before, this was essentially 50% or half of what internally EA wanted this game to sell. So they wanted to sell 3 million. It did basically got half of that. And without getting into the drama of it, because people, obviously have made drama around this game, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about objective standpoints and things like that. And objectively, the game, yeah, not that great, sadly, mid at best, and underperformed. Honestly, disappointing, in my opinion. Want to play. I'm not necessarily a hardcore Dragon Age fan, but I am a big RPG fan in general. I did play the first game like a month or two prior to Veilguard coming out to see how that was, to get a good feel for it, and then played Veilguard, and it just like, oh my, it was like night and day in terms of the overall quality, the storytelling, character development, etc. And imagine too, at one point, Dragon Age Veilguard was a live service game, so imagine how probably worse it would have been if it stayed being a live service game. Heck, that's probably why certain elements or mechanics stayed in the game, because it used to be live service, and maybe that's why they had to be so handholdy, is because had to be live service at one point, but couldn't take out everything in terms of game mechanics, functionality, and stuff like that from the live service, part of the game, and so they kept it in there because they couldn't take it out, or otherwise it would have like taken longer, I guess, to develop or whatever the heck. But the series is not dead. Apparently, a former employee there assures it's in the hands of the fans now, basically. that Dragon Age is not dead. And Mass Effect, in terms of series, is in good hands as Bioware assembles a team of franchise veterans. How actually true this is, I don't know, because they just let a freaking handful, if not a ton, of veterans go in terms of the writing team for Dragon Age Veilguard. So, and remember, the next Mass Effect game initially got announced officially back in 2020. And we've had barely any information at all about it ever since. Now, in a detailed statement, Bioware has made it clear that Mass Effect 4, the next Mass Effect game, is a top priority and represents a new chapter for the studio. Leading the project is Mike Gamble, who has been an executive producer on the franchise since Mass Effect 2. But who knows when this game's coming out, considering that I think they're just now about to go into full production for it, or it isn't, I don't know, fully ready for full production scale yet. I don't know. It's just a mess right now at BioWare and EA as they try to restructure and refigure this stuff out. And considering we had the announcement back in 2020, it's been almost 5 years now. We had Dragon Age finally drop last year after being in development. Well, Dragon Age Veilguard being in development for so freaking long. It's probably going to be another 3, 5, maybe even 10 years before we even see the next Mass Effect game. I don't know. Who knows if we even see it in this lifetime at this rate with what's going on. But this is just wild to me. Bad news and sad news for people that got laid off. While objectively, yeah, Dragon Age Veilguard was a disappointing and poor performing game. I don't like when anybody gets, loses their job like that in a layoff type of format, especially the way they did without really giving many of them prior notice. Just let's say they could have time to try and get a new job somewhere and things like that. Because at the end of the day, people got bills to pay, people got families to take care of, etc. Right? Nothing's getting easier. So, and nothing's getting cheaper either. It just sucks. And it's such a revolving door now, or just the way they treat employees now, regardless of how you feel about them on a personal level. It's just like a meat grinder, sadly. And it's not just video game industry, it's other industries too. But man, it's just ridiculous. And this industry needs to change for the better. It needs to treat its employees better. Some places are doing amazing with how they treat their people, their employees, and have not had to lay off anybody, or have had to lay off very few people, or at least try to help get them jobs elsewhere, things like that. Not every company is doing that, obviously, but I just wish more and more would do that. EA definitely not in my top favorites at all as a company, and among some other ones I'm not going to mention here, they do some shitty business practices, let's say that. But we'll see what happens with this. What are your thoughts on this, guys, about the situation? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.